Professor Kholofelo Rakubu, Tshwane University of Technology, Department of Safety and Security Management, joins us to expand on the discussion. Professor, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Residents are calling police to intensify their fight against crime. I mean, they're saying that they're living in fear, but they're not standing back. They're hoping that they can see some level of security and police helping them in tackling crime. I mean, what do you make of this situation as more and more South Africans in rural and urban areas complain of crime in South Africa?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. This is a typical situation that most communities are faced with, issues of fear of crime, frustration, and so forth. So what we make of this situation is that probably there has been deficiencies in how crime is managed, because largely crime cannot be the responsibilities of the police. I hear there's a station, and now with the CPF feeling powerless, they're trying to at least boost it up to be able to handle issues of crime. However, experience tells us that that is not enough to deal with community safety, especially rural safety. Communities are the greatest part in this. They should lead when it comes to this. Now, with the challenges with CPF, how is it that now the province is empowering CPF? We need also to assess mechanisms in place to empower this struggling CPF. Are there issues of, is it only issues of resources, or issues of skills, issues of finance or political will from them? Because we've learned from multiple communities that have been in this situation that although you can have CPF, what kind of CPF do you have? Is it thoroughly trained to understand issues of safety? Is that CPF working with municipality or community safety forum? Because CPF also need other sister structures to beef it up, and also role of traditional leaders in that regard. Now, to assist CPF be effective, what is the municipality's responsibility in terms of community safety? Because we understand in their IDP currently, there's a section where they talk about safety. So what is it that they're doing on their part so that CPF can have its rightful place to be able to do what? To bridge a gap between the community and the police. You can beat them up, but if you don't give them the necessary resources, if you don't do or conduct thorough community criminogenic analysis, you'll miss it at the end. And I heard one community member mentioning issues of poverty. Yeah. Police cannot be responsible to deal with socio-economic issues. However, they also lead to level of criminality. So meaning what? Other sister departments should also play their part, because you find that community members are left alone, no opportunities for the youth and so forth, and they become highly vulnerable. And with all of that, there's also opportunistic or criminals to see that the community lack critical structures that addresses issues of safety. So it cannot only be CPF. Yeah. It also requires political will. It also requires thorough resources from the police station to work on the relations, because we understand largely there's poor police community relations. So how is this community going to do it different? Because obviously they have issues of trust, right? They are disgruntled, they are devastated.
And Professor, issues of trust are not unique to just this area of Denelton. Yes. We've seen across South Africa where discouraged South Africans are saying that they cannot trust the police. They feel that that relationship has broken. Yet we need the police to develop a strategy that will be integrated to reduce crime.
Not the police alone. That strategy should be centered around community need and community structures. Yes. I always say it is community members that understand criminality better than the police. They house these criminals, they raise these criminals, and so forth. So they can thoroughly plan with the help of the police. So they should lead in most regard, because remember, for the police to be able to arrest, it is the community that comes forward with relevant information and intelligence to assist the police do their work, right? So if now we rely heavily on the police, we understand largely that they do have their own internal issues of corruption, issues of resources, and so forth. So the minute we now go to Denelton and plan utilizing the failed strategy across board, then we are not going to win. Communities in this regard should lead. Communities in this regard should conduct their community safety audit and recognize and identify critical structures that can assist the police. The police cannot come in with their failing or ailing structures to assist with level of crime. They should come at the far end. We should be leading and designing programs that can work for us and identifying critical or failing structures that can assist the police work. Because largely in South Africa, we understand we have been heavily dependent on the police.
Yes.
And we are not winning the battle against crime. Why are we not winning the battle against crime? Because we don't do our part, while they also have their own internal long-standing issues of resources and so forth. And I always say crime has evolved, right? As much as it has evolved, even the police response or mechanism should be on par with an evolved environment.
How has crime evolved, Professor? More so as we look at the numbers coming from Denelton. I mean, the contact crimes have increased for sure by 26%, while murders have doubled. I mean, that's quite significant.
It has. The community vulnerability have been thoroughly analyzed by the opportunistic offenders and other habitual offenders or general offenders within that community.
Yes.
So it has been vulnerable, and there has been identification of a suitable target. Those communities that have been experiencing crime have been identified by offenders to be vulnerable, and they've realized there's no capable guardian that can come to their rescue. In this case, it has been identified as absence of a police station or reliable resources, right? Which now they are trying to deal with. But largely, me saying crime has evolved. We deal with an offender that will take a decision that intentionally they are going to commit crime. We've learned a lot from KwaZulu-Natal that an offender will come to shoot first before they can even shoot. So even in Denelton, they have a willing offender that might not even be perpetuated by anything else, but desire to just commit crime generally.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on this conversation. Really just speaking about Professor Kholofelo Rakubu, Tshwane University of Technology's Department of Safety and Security Management, speaking about how communities should also start getting involved and assisting in tackling crime within their communities.